The LED lights overhead in the marble lobby flickered once, twice, then blinked out, plunging the top floor of Weston Tower into dim silence. Executives paused mid-sentence. Deadlines froze. Keyboards stilled. In the hush, a cart squeaked its way in. A man in a faded gray jumpsuit and scuffed boots stepped through the side entrance, toolbox in hand. No one looked twice at him. Just another maintenance worker in a building that ran on ambition and quarterly reports. But that was before he spoke. A power outage had hit during the most critical moment, a video conference with investors in Marseille. Tension radiated from a glass-walled boardroom as screens flickered on emergency power. "Where the hell is facilities?" snapped Veronica Lane, 44, the CEO of Lane Tech. Her tailored charcoal blazer and steel gray eyes left little room for disobedience. Then, through the open doors, came Marcus Reed. 36, single dad, grease-stained collar, weary but steady hands. His backpack bore the faded remnants of a Captain Astro lunchbox sticker, a corner still stubbornly hanging on. "I'm from maintenance," he said calmly. "I was already on the exposed wiring above. I'll have this sorted in just a few minutes." "Then do it," Veronica said sharply, not even looking his way. Grumbles floated from the boardroom. One exec scoffed. "Seriously?" "Now." Marcus said nothing. He hoisted himself up the ladder, unbothered by the sneers. He'd rewired a dozen places this week alone. He didn't have the luxury of ego. What he had was skill, and a 10-year-old at home waiting with a crumpled math worksheet and peanut butter on his chin. Halfway through splicing the burnt connector, the backup projector powered on. The French client's voice boomed through the speakers, clipped and impatient. Veronica stiffened. "Does anyone speak French?" Panic flared. Eyebrows shot up. No one in the room responded. Silence stretched thin, until a voice from above said, "I'll demand pourquoi nous ne sommes pas préparés pour cette réunion." Heads whipped around. Marcus hadn't even come down from the ladder. He continued, eyes focused on his work. "He's asking why we aren't ready. Wants an update." There was a collective intake of breath. "Wait," Veronica said, standing slowly. "You speak French." Marcus finally stepped down, reset the breaker, and the lights hummed back to life. He turned toward the giant screen and replied to the client in fluent, calm French, his accent precise, his tone respectful but firm. "He's asking if delivery can be bumped up by a month," Marcus translated, "because his business partner will be abroad." He relayed the question back in French without missing a beat. The room didn't breathe. Veronica blinked like she'd seen a ghost. This wasn't the man who changed bulbs. This was something else. A moment passed, then another, before someone whispered, "What the hell just happened?" One of the VPs, Jason Klein, slick suit, too much cologne, fumbled for words. "You're telling me the guy with the toolbox just saved the Marseille deal?" Veronica didn't look away from Marcus. "Mr. Reed?" "Marcus Reed." "Mr. Reed," she said slowly, "don't go anywhere." Marcus hesitated, wiping his hands with a rag. "Power's stable now. If you have other issues, sit," she interrupted, gesturing to an empty leather chair like it had always belonged to him. The executive shifted, uneasy but curious. Marcus took the seat. His jumpsuit creaked against $1,000 upholstery. At 7:08 a.m., the doors opened again. A young woman, maybe 21, pale, sleep-deprived, entered with a trembling tray of coffees. Then in turn, clearly. A cup tilted off the edge. Marcus was on his feet before it hit the ground, catching it with a quickness honed from years of picking up Legos and snack packs before bedtime disasters. "You're good," he said gently, setting the cup back. "Take a breath." She whispered a flustered thanks. He handed her a napkin from his pocket. "Hold on to this. One small thing you control helps with the rest." Veronica watched him like she was seeing something rare. "How many languages do you speak, Mr. Reed?" "Two fluently. English and French." "Where'd you learn?" He shrugged. "Work night shifts in kitchens. A sous chef used to play French tapes over the radio. Picked it up over time. A librarian used to stash cassettes for me, too." Jason scoffed. "So you're like a janitor/translator now?" "I'm a dad," Marcus said flatly. "I do what keeps the lights on and my kid fed." Veronica's gaze landed on the peeling Captain Astro sticker. "How old is he?" 10. "Name's Elijah. Loves building things, spaceships, mostly. Labels every bolt. Says it helps make sense of the world. Something softened in Veronica's face, then vanished just as fast. She asked, "Can you sit in with legal and development later today?" 2 o'clock. Help make sure we don't offend anyone in translation. I can try, Marcus replied. But I'm contracted for facilities. I don't want to overstep. Jason leaned forward. There are policies, NDAs, compliance matters. We can't just let this guy sit in on sensitive calls. Marcus remained calm. Business French, not restaurant French. And I'll sign the NDA. As for the alarms, they're on a separate circuit. I already logged a surge coming from overloaded strips in the west bullpen. That's why the breaker tripped. Jason looked like he'd swallowed a tack. Veronica's phone buzzed. She read a message, her jaw tightening. Our French partners want updated terms by 5. If we lose them, we lose our European launch. She looked up at Marcus. Can you read people? He paused. I try. Most people say what matters and what they don't say. Exactly, she said. That guy wasn't asking for faster delivery. He was bluffing to drop the price. Marcus nodded. He kept softening on time, not on cost. He wants leverage. If you give him phased delivery and a support line in French, he keeps his pride. You keep your margin. The room exhaled. Focus snapped into place. Mr. Reed, Veronica said, walk with me. They exited into the corridor, glass and morning light painting the floor. As they walked, Marcus noticed how her hands moved when she was thinking, clasped, then still. I grew up translating, she said. Creole to English for my grandmother. Words were how I held my family together. She stopped by a window, city stretching below. What you did wasn't luck. He shifted, uncomfortable. It's just practice. No, she said. It's grit and clarity. We've got too many resumes in that room. Not enough people who stay calm when the power cuts out. Suddenly, a crash echoed from around the corner. A courier, older, white hair wild from wind, had spilled a stack of legal documents. He groaned, rubbing his knee as the pages scattered. Marcus didn't hesitate. He crouched, reading labels aloud. Contracts, Q4 exhibits, vendor appendices, stacking them neatly and returning them in order. You okay? He asked. The man blinked. You just saved me a full hour. You looked like you needed the hour more, Marcus replied with a tired smile. From down the hall, Veronica watched him again, curiosity shifting into something deeper. Then came Jason, folder in hand. If Mr. Reed insists on consulting, legal's ready. He passed over a slim NDA. Standard terms. Marcus scanned it. Clause 7. Non-compete language. I won't sign something that blocks future work. I've got a kid to raise. Jason's smile tightened. That's standard. Veronica took the folder, flicked to the line, and handed it back. Strike it. Today we do this on his terms. Marcus signed, pen heavier than it should have been. Back in the boardroom, the energy shifted. Legal outlined a revised rollout. Product map feature milestones. Marcus stood by the screen, translating with care, not just words, but tone, cultural nuance, intent. He rephrased a line from a VP that could have sounded arrogant overseas. He flagged a contract adjective that implied fault in French. Subtle, precise adjustments that held the deal together. Everything moved faster because Marcus made a human. His phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Alvarez, his neighbor. Elijah's here. Fed him grilled cheese. He says don't forget to check his Mars base tonight. He smiled faintly and replied, You're an angel. I'll be there by 8. Tell him to save the launch bay for me. At 4 p.m., the French client called back. Veronica stood beside Marcus as he took the line. Oui, je vous entends parfaitement, he said, then listened with that still, focused look of his. 2 minutes later, the client agreed. The call ended with a cordial à bientôt. The silence settled over the room like snowfall. Veronica extended her hand. Marcus shook it. You just kept this company from losing half its global strategy, she said. Name your rate. He started to brush it off, reflex. But then he thought of Elijah's worn sneakers, of the looming custody hearing where stability meant printed pay stubs and structured hours. Pay me what you'd pay any consultant who rescued a deal, he said. And let me suggest one more thing. Veronica raised an eyebrow. That surge in the West bullpen? That's a fire hazard. You're understaffed on night shifts. Let me fix the wiring properly. No patches. A full prevention plan. Jason chuckled dryly. We have vendors for that. Your vendor missed it, Marcus replied evenly. I didn't. Veronica was quiet for a long moment. Draft a proposal. 1 page. Scope. Of milestones. If it's solid, I'll sign it myself. I'll bring it at 8 a.m., Marcus said. As the room emptied, the young intern approached. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. Thank you for the napkin trick, she said, tugging at the corner sticking out of her blazer pocket. It helped. Keep it, he said. Can I ask? She hesitated. How do you stay so calm when people talk down to you? Marcus considered. He thought of nights scrubbing pans under fluorescent lights while a chef screamed, of quietly mouthing French vocab while Elijah slept, of being told you're just a janitor more times than he could count. I remind myself they might be carrying a fire inside, he said. Doesn't mean I have to burn too. Behind them, Veronica had paused in the doorway, listening. Mr. Reed, she said softly, do you have plans tonight? I promised my son I'd check his science project, he said. Mars base. Made from cereal boxes. She smiled. Really smiled. Then go. We'll handle things here. Your son, he's lucky. Marcus slung his backpack over his shoulder, the Captain Astro sticker catching the light. I'm the lucky one. He turned to leave, but Jason blocked the hallway. Enjoy the hero moment, Reed. Tomorrow, things go back to normal. Marcus didn't flinch. Exactly. That's what I'm working for. He stepped around him, nodding to security and thanking the receptionist by name. As the glass doors revolved open, he texted Mrs. Alvarez. On my way. Tell Elijah to keep the cereal boxes out. I want to see that landing bay on the sidewalk. Outside, the city was alive. Sirens in the distance, street food in the air, the hiss of tires on wet pavement. A man who fixed lights had just rewired the path of his life. The real work, steady and quiet, was just beginning. He drove home through the gold-lit dusk, hands still humming from the day's tension. His pickup groaned up the driveway like an old friend too proud to quit. The porch light flickered, a familiar reminder that some things were always waiting. But the moment he stepped inside, Elijah sprinted into his arms, holding up a shoebox covered in aluminum foil and marker labels. Dad, look, it has solar panels. I made the landing gear fold in. Marcus crouched, heart swelling. NASA's not ready for this level of genius, he whispered, hugging his son tight. Later, over grilled cheese and tomato soup, Elijah explained gravity wells and booster thrusters in the way only a 10-year-old could. And yet, somewhere in Marcus's mind, Jason's voice echoed. Tomorrow we're back to reality. Reality always came fast. The next morning, Marcus returned to Weston Tower. He wore a clean, ironed shirt, hair combed back. The proposal was in a folder in his hand. Simple, direct, bullet points that made more sense than buzzwords ever could. Security hesitated, until Veronica herself appeared in the lobby. He's with me, she said. And that was that. In her office, glass walls, skylines stretching like a chessboard, she read every word. It's solid, she said. Efficient. Costs a quarter of what we paid last time. I'm not trying to embarrass facilities, Marcus replied. I just don't believe in leaving frayed wires behind. That's why I trust it, she said. You didn't save the deal yesterday with flair. You did it with precision. That's rarer than you think. Before he could respond, the door slammed open. Jason strode in, waving a folder like a sword. This is ridiculous. You're letting him pitch like he's part of this team. Veronica's voice dropped to ice. He is. And he added more value in one day than most people do in a year. Jason's face twisted. You're gambling our company's image on a janitor. Marcus stood slowly. Call me whatever you like. But titles don't fix problems. Work does. The room chilled. Veronica slid the signed proposal across her desk. Approved. Effective immediately. Jason stormed out. That week, Marcus worked late. He rewired the bullpen personally, methodical, focused. As he packed up, the intern passed by again, arms full of binders. They keep calling me kid, she whispered. Like I'm not even here. Marcus handed her a Sharpie. Write your name on every cover. If someone tries to erase you, make it harder. She blinked. Thank you. On his way out, Veronica caught him in the lobby. I spoke with our French partners, she said. They trust us now because of you. Do you know what that means? Marcus shifted. It means I did my job. No, she said. It means you reminded me why people follow leaders. Trust, not titles. She paused. We need people like you. Not just in maintenance. Full-time. Listen. Problem solver. His throat tightened. 4 years. Every paycheck was a bridge to the next week. Every job was temporary. Only if it means I can still be home in time for science projects, he said quietly. She nodded. Then we'll make it work. Marcus stepped into the night, the air clearer than it had felt in years. He wasn't just fixing lights anymore. He'd been seeing. He mattered. And for the first time in a long time, he believed tomorrow belonged to him.